The Whitmore estate was a place of grandeur, a mansion with marble floors, sweeping staircases, and chandeliers that sparkled even in the dimmest light. To outsiders, it was the very image of wealth and power. Yet within its walls, silence reigned. The only son of the millionaire, young Ethan Whitmore, lived a life that money could not mend. Born with legs that never carried him, he had grown up confined to a wheelchair, watching the world from behind glass windows and endless corridors. His father poured fortune after fortune into doctors, specialists, and treatments that promised miracles but delivered disappointment. Each failure left the man colder, sterner, and more absent from his son's life. Ethan's mother, though gentle, retreated into a world of her own, her tenderness dimming into quiet resignation. And so Ethan grew not only without the use of his legs but also without the warmth of a family's laughter. That was the state of things when Mariah arrived. She was the new maid, brought in to replace one of the many who had come and gone. Unlike the others, Mariah was young and full of energy, her voice carrying a kind of warmth that wrapped around the ears like a familiar melody. She had eyes that looked past Ethan's wheelchair, past the pity, past the stillness of his body. She spoke to him as though he were whole, as though his chair were nothing more than a seat he chose to occupy. Ethan, used to the measured politeness of adults who never truly saw him, found himself startled by her bluntness. One afternoon, as she dusted the shelves near where he sat reading, she suddenly said, "Child, you've got fire in your eyes, but you sit there like it's gone out. Don't tell me you've never even tried." Her tone was not cruel but challenging, almost daring. Ethan's eyes fell to his useless legs, his voice small as he muttered, "There's no point. I've tried. I always fall." Mariah crouched before him, her dark eyes steady and unwavering. "Then we'll fall together," she said with quiet certainty. "And one day, we'll rise together." For the first time in years, something shifted inside Ethan. It wasn't hope. Not yet. Hope had betrayed him too many times before. But it was the memory of hope, a spark buried deep, flickering back to life under the strength of a woman who refused to look at him as broken. Mariah's presence in the Whitmore mansion quickly became more than that of a maid. She moved through the house with purpose, yet always found time to challenge Ethan in ways no one else dared. Each morning, as she opened the curtains to let sunlight pour into his room, she insisted he stretch his legs with her help. At first, he resisted, grumbling about the pain and futility. But Mariah would simply cross her arms, raise an eyebrow, and tell him, "You've survived worse than pain. Don't you dare tell me you can't." She turned chores into lessons, handing him objects just out of reach, urging him to push against her hands with what little strength he had, making him try to stand even if only for seconds. Ethan hated it and loved it all at once. Though his muscles trembled and his body betrayed him, he found himself craving her challenges, her faith, her laughter that broke through the heavy silence of the mansion. It was on a stormy afternoon that everything changed. Rain lashed against the tall windows, thunder rolled across the skies, and the mansion seemed to groan under the weight of the storm. Ethan sat in his wheelchair in the long hallway when suddenly, the lights flickered and died. The power outage left the house in near darkness, and his chair, already temperamental, froze halfway down the corridor. Panic swelled in his chest. In the distance, he heard the crash of something breaking, glass shattering in his father's study upstairs. His voice caught in his throat as fear gripped him. Then came Mariah's voice, sharp and steady through the storm. "Ethan, you need to come to me." His hands trembled on the wheels. "I can't," he whispered, almost in tears. "I can't." "Yes, you can," she answered, her voice fierce with conviction. "You don't need legs of stone. You need a heart that refuses to quit. Stand, Ethan. Stand for yourself." Something in her tone cut through the panic. Trembling, he placed his hands on the arms of the chair. His body screamed in protest as he pushed upward, his legs quivering beneath him. For a breathless moment, he stood, swaying, but he did not fall. One step, then another, shaky but real, carried him forward. When he finally collapsed into Mariah's waiting arms, tears blurred his vision. She laughed through her own tears, whispering, "Didn't I tell you? The impossible just needed someone to believe." And for the first time in his life, Ethan believed too.